kinds of neat stuff sent to us. We get collaborations. Strangely enough, we were just talking about here a few weeks back about the handrail that we wanted to put on this house. Well, lo and behold, a few days later, we actually had Muzata reach out to us. They're the manufacturer of some really high quality 316 stainless cable railing parts. We have some trim pieces. There's a sleeve. We got tensioners here. We have a hydraulic crimp. And we have our black coated stainless steel. It's a 7/7 wire, so you actually have 49 strands in it. Very high tensile. It's going to be beautiful. The black cable is going to look really nice with the house. We got black windows. So anyway, we're going to show you how we're going to do this today. It's a very simple system and it's very affordable, especially for you DIY people. This particular setup is for wood post installation. So you can have extruded aluminum handrail, you can do wood, there's a lot of different products you can do. You can do cap PVC, and they have all the different products to go along with that system you're gonna be putting in. So we're gonna be installing this today, and I can't wait. It's gonna look beautiful. Check it out. Here's your tensioner. This is gonna go into the post. Your cable is gonna feed in through this end, come out this side. You're gonna put a crimp on your cable. You're gonna engage that into your post, and you're gonna use this tool right here, it slips around the cable, and you're going to twist it in to your post, and that is what's going to tension the cable. This will go on both ends. It's a very clean look. Use your terminals. Here's our little trim sleeves. These will go into the post. This is the hydraulic crimper. It has different dies you can put in there for all different size crimps, wire. So you're just gonna go ahead and pump this up. Boom, that'll crimp it. It has a retraction. Just go ahead and open this valve. It's spring retractable. And here are your dies. You can go ahead and pull this pin, and that is how you change your dies. They also supplied us with a cable cutter. This will make life much easier. It'll keep it from fraying. As you see, when these jaws come together, they will actually trap it. They won't cut like scissors. When you come together like that, it tries to squirt out whatever's in there. If you ever cut something hard with scissors or shears, snip, you know what I'm talking about. It tries to press it out. As these close, they actually trap the wire in there. You can see the point comes together first. What we're gonna do to make this really quick and simple and a very repeatable process, since we have so many posts to drill through, we're just gonna make a template. We're gonna take this board, make our layout marks, drill holes in it, and this will go up on the side of the post and be clamped to it. And then we're just gonna put our drill bit right through to make our marks. We're gonna drill from both sides of our 6x6 posts and join in the middle, so we have precision. If you drill from one side, you're not gonna come out on the other side where you want to. So you're gonna drill on both sides and meet in the middle. Here's my filming crew. So if you hear babbling, folks, that's that little one. Where you hopefully feel the channel. And I just did right there. Don't go any further. That one met. Now the fear is the first time, don't just go all the way through first pass. Hey, whiner. Because you might be coming out just next to the other hole and you'll elongate it. So, and then your sleeve won't fit and it's a mess. So it's kind of a little bit of a process. You got to do both sides twice. One with the short bit and then again with the longer bit. This is where we're coming through now. That one felt a little funny. So you're going to want to look at the other side. There you go. Perfect center. Let's try that again. Hey, what do you know? Okay. You like it? Now. What are you doing there, man? So what we got here, these are our stays. These are going to be supporting in between the top rail, so it doesn't sag over time and it just look really sharp. So what we're doing is we're drilling from both sides using a template, joining the hole in the middle. So here's the provided bit that it comes with. It's a little carbide spade. So that'll give us the right final size hole. We actually ground it down just a tiny bit with the flapper disc to make it just a hair tighter. We wanted these really snug going in. This wood is a little green still, so we didn't want them loosening up and falling out. So that's what we got. All those. Still got all those and these to do. Oh, fine. Right. All right, 1, 2.
Ready? You got your screws? Yeah.
Is you got 2 inches?
Yeah.
This thing's cut this stuff like water. Oh, okay. Cutting 8 to length. All we're doing here is we're going to set these with pliers. Just squeeze them on a little bit, and then we'll use the hydraulics to really give them the final crimp. Okay, and it gets wedged in there. I'd say she's crimped.
Cool. Right. Nice. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, about there. Now again, we're learning. We don't know exactly how much stretch is going to be in this, but this is stainless steel wire. It's not going to stretch much. Yeah, don't zoom in on my face. Don't break your camera.
Great.
I'd say she crimped, boys. This is the part, it crimps it in there so tight, you have to kind of get like rowdy and yank it out of there. All right, we got all these guys crimped on here. So far, just to explain, this isn't rocket science. No offense to anybody who installs cable railing. You know, we were professional deck installers and contractors in Idaho. And I would say on a difficulty scale, there's some fitting, there's a lot of little pieces and parts, but this is not difficult. If you have basic skills and you can operate a drill and a pair of cutters and a crimper, you know, if you can install this rail, you can install this cable. It's very simple. It's really cut and dry. So, all right, so we just got the first one started here. We're just gonna go ahead here and start threading them in. See if I can't get them all crossed up. That'll be awesome. Like some modern art. Now they make all sorts of different tensioners. They have turnbuckle style. They have them for their aluminum handrail. They have them for all different stuff. This just happens to be the system that I chose for our wooden posts. And those are some gnarly things. It's all stainless. It is sharp. Solid stainless. And I mean, it looks like it's all machined too. It's really well made. Look at those things. Yeah, that's all machined. It's not cast. Pretty cut and dry. Oh yeah, love it. Last couple ones on this run, boy, I'm excited because it's cold and I'm ready to be done. My knees are chilling. Old man knees that are cold. Bad combo.
And no knee pads.
Oh, I know. Extra stupid.
It's great.
Ooh, that looks sharp.
That looks great.
Woo! Looky, looky. Okay. All right, guys, so at the end of this project here, we've got about half of it complete. Really happy with the product. It's really super simple to install, high quality materials. Thank you, Muzata, for reaching out to us and hooking us up with the materials to try these out and give it a review. It's easy to install. There's a lot of little pieces, yes. It's requires low skill to install. This is not difficult stuff to work with. So, you know, a homeowner with basic mechanical carpentry skills can install this stuff, no problem. The price point is excellent. It is way cheaper than going to, say, a local lumberyard and ordering a railing system. So something you should definitely check out. Go look at Muzata's products on their website, muzatarailing.com. Very pleased. Comes in all different shapes, sizes, and applications, so check it out. That's it for us here on the ranch. We appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next one.
So now the question that everyone asks is, how much did this whole thing cost? And it cost me... So we got a lot to do today, but before we jump into it, I do want to thank Muzata for sponsoring this video. They gave me a hefty discount on all this hardware, and their design team has been incredible to work with. I mean, this is quite daunting when you look at the amount of hardware that goes into this. All of this stuff is everything that it takes. I can tell you, when I was unboxing all this, I was a little intimidated, but we're just gonna take it step by step and I'll walk you guys exactly how to do this. And their design team told me, once you do get the hang of it, it really is just rinse and repeat and pretty simple. So I'm excited to walk you guys through this and let's see how easy this actually is. Before Muzata even reached out, I was planning on doing these cable railings regardless, but it was kind of overwhelming diving through all the websites, trying to figure out what hardware I need, what corner pieces go where, because there's a lot to it. But I was able to get in touch with Muzata's design team and they put together a full parts list of everything. All you have to do is you give them the overall dimensions of your deck and they put everything together for you. So I don't know if you can see this here, but this is a layout of my deck right there. And they lay out where each post has to go, what type of hardware, and it's just super slick. So I've been super impressed with the team so far, but let's get back to laying this thing out. Let me give you a little walkthrough here. So this is gonna be the back side of the home. 4 posts go here. I've started laying out where all the posts go, but the posts run all the way down here. I'll show you guys how I'm doing this staircase. I'm actually gonna have railings going down to here. You can't tell, but this is like a 5 to 6 foot drop. So we definitely want to have railings here, but then I'm gonna stop the railings there and not have them continue along the path, mainly because this is only a couple inches off the ground and it just makes the aesthetic of the barrel sauna look so much cooler. Back to it over here, we have this huge stretch. This is almost 50 feet long. Then we wrap all the way around to the hot tub and they'll actually wrap around and return back. And now it's time to drain the hot tub. I'll explain this a little better. This is why I had to drain the tub, because the cover right there, you can see it falls. It falls past the edge of the deck right there. So we just gotta scooch it a couple more inches that way and we'll be good to go. All right, welcome back to day 2. So we've finished all the cable railings. Just kidding. I've seen a couple of you in the comments being like, how come he jumps from 20% to 100%? I just want to see the whole process. This video, we are going to dive into the details of the cable railing. And I sort of wanted to walk through doing one whole process, like start to finish on just a little stretch of the railing here, so that I can show you guys some of the tips and tricks I learned along the way to make cable railings as easy as possible. Because they are a little bit daunting at first, but once you get the hang of it, it's really simple. So let me give you a quick little tour on what I've done so far. This is the system so far. I learned the process is to install the post, install the railings after, attach the railings to the post, lock down and level all of your posts, and then you run all the wires. I know that sounds simple, but there are a couple few tips and tricks that I learned that'll make your cable railing installation super easy. Also, check out the cedar hollow. It's looking so good. We're almost there. I've probably got like 2 to 3 more weeks and this whole thing will be done and live on Airbnb. I've also done one stretch of the railings here just because it is a little bit intricate and you have to do the processes a little bit different. So I'll be walking you guys through the railing set in the front of the house and showing you guys the quickest way to do railings. Picking up where I left off, I laid out each of the posts. You can see that none of these are actually fastened down yet. We're gonna be doing that here in a second. What I ended up doing was I laid out all of the railings all the way down the deck to make sure that my spacing checks out between each post. Because right now they're spaced out every 4 feet, but I didn't want to have one that's like 4 feet, 4 feet, 4 feet, 2 feet, you know? We're here at the feature corner of the deck. This is the view that I intended to be like the main Airbnb listing photo. It has a really cool view of the hot tub, all the string lights, sauna, just everything when you're looking this way at the house. So we're gonna start here and make sure that the spacing is absolutely perfect all the way down. As we get a little bit further down, we can sort of cheat the 6 inches that we have overhanging of the railing that we're gonna cut back and slowly hide that little gap throughout all the posts here. So let's dive into setting the first post. So for setting the posts, they're all pretty much the same except for corners. Corners have a little variation, it's pretty much the same, but I'll tell you what it is. So you'll get these corner setting bags, which they'll have these 4 half-inch lags, which if you're doing 1,000 square feet of deck with railings all the way around, you're gonna wanna pick up a 1/2-inch socket adapter with an extension. Because if you don't have an extension, you're not gonna be able to get a straight attack angle at it, as opposed to with the socket extension, which gives you a little more play and able to attack that bolt straight down. Okay, so for setting the post, the location of the post goes on the deck. You have to keep in mind, you want all of your lags to sit into the treated lumber. In my case, I have 1-inch thick cedar on top and 2x10s underneath working as runners, running the entire perimeter of the deck. So to get in from the finished deck boards, we have to go in 1 inch, and then the dimensional lumber is 1.5 inches thick, so that means an extra 3/4 inch, about 1.5 inches, 1 3/4 off to make sure that I lag into a solid dimensional lumber piece. So take my tape measure, I'll go 1.5 inches there, 1.5 inches there. Before setting the corner post, you gotta keep in mind that this corner plate, which attaches to both this run and this run of the deck, it has to sit on top like that. And there's only one way it'll sit because you have the 2 holes this way and the 2 holes this way. And if it's turned, this thing won't sit properly on it. So you wanna make sure that you test fit, that this plate will go over and the holes are lined up, and then set it down like that, and then you can set your lag. And then you pre-drill the holes so that you're not splitting the lumber when you're actually setting the lag. Take our impact and some of our lags here, and we'll set the first one. So in my case, I only have 1 2x10 running the entire perimeter of the deck. And ideally, if I were to build the deck again, I think I would do 2 2x10s running along the whole perimeter so that I don't have to add backing. Like for example, this lag furthest in won't hit any dimensional lumber. So I have to add this backing. I just pretty much cut a little 2x6. Gonna take a bunch of 3-inch screws and fasten it on the underside here. So I'll go do that real quick. All right, there we go. The backing's installed. Now when I pre-drill and set the lag, this is gonna catch a piece of lumber. Also, I'm using 11/64 drill bits for the pre-drilling, which is a little bit small, but you're gonna need a whole bunch of these drill bits for pre-drilling and all the railings. So I just bought like 5 or 6 of them, and it has to be 11/64. If it's any bigger or any smaller, it won't work. I found out the hard way. I tried a bunch and it didn't work. We'll check level. I got a little 24-inch level. It's like we need to come in this way, and I like to fine tune this once I get all 4 lags set. Then we just sort of tweak each bolt accordingly. And you want to make sure you definitely don't over tighten these lags, otherwise you'll just start to strip them. If you torque it a little bit and it's not moving at all, make sure to stop because it's totally locked in, and you'll just have to loosen the other side a little bit to get perfectly level. There we go, perfectly level. Make sure you don't forget to put these cover plates on. Found out the hard way, because once you put all the wires in, you would have to take out each individual wire to get this plate down here. So make sure as soon as the 4 lags are in, just drop that cover plate on, and that just sits there and covers all the lags. Okay, then we'll fasten this top plate down. There you have it. This top corner plate's on. These 2 smaller Allen key bolts are holding this guy down, and this thing is not going anywhere, especially when it's tied into all the rest of them down here. Before we set the next post, we're gonna set the railing on top to get an accurate measurement on where the next post needs to go. And to do that, with the corner post, you slide this cool little corner post insert into the top rail. Then I roughly set it on top right there just to give me an idea on where it's gotta go. So once the corner piece inserts in, I line it up so there's even spacing on either side for this block coming out this way, because this is the way the railing's gonna go. You can see that it's just gonna sit directly on top of this plate. So then we go over here and we know this post has to be just about centered on this. And you do have a little bit of play with the top bracket that sits on top, so it doesn't have to be exactly perfect. So it's pretty much the same process for the corner it is for lagging in the next post. I'm gonna go lag this in and show you how we set the third post that makes up like one section of the system. Throw the top cap in. Now we're gonna set this top rail just like that. It has to be perfectly squared up here, making sure that the overhangs are all equal on each side. Fun part where I drilled a hole in my shoulder at the Pacific bin, but this time I'm not gonna do that, knock on wood. So we take our 11/64 drill bit and drill in the holes that are already in the plate through the railing and also through the block. For reference, this is that top plate that's on top of the post. We're gonna be drilling through these two holes so that these screws, the lagging screws, will pop through just like that on all the plates. And those actually fasten the railing to the post. Like I mentioned, 11/64. Don't go any bigger, don't go any smaller. If it's bigger, the screws won't hold. If it's smaller, you're gonna strip out the threads on the screws. So go buy a bunch of 11/64 if you're doing it. Oh, you know what? I got an idea. I got these adorable little clamps for doing some cabinet stuff the other day. And I think it's gonna work really well for holding this guy on while I'm screwing so that the railing doesn't fall off. Look at that, innovation. Everyone's probably been yelling at me like, just use clamp. Boom, there we go. First one in. Also, the way I drilled the hole in my shoulder was by drilling up like this, and the drill slipped and went right into my shoulder. Then we take these blocks, slide them in. It helps to join the railing, but it also helps to align everything so it's perfectly straight down the run. So the next step here is to measure the total distance between the two posts. The total distance between the two plates is 74 inches, so 37 inches will be halfway, which will be right where this post will go. So we'll go 37 inches on center, do the same process here with all the legs, all the backing, attach the top plate, and then we'll fasten it to the underside here. So I'll go knock that out real quick. So that's the first little section, and now I'm just rinse and repeat and keep doing that all the way down the deck, and I'll show you a bunch of fun time lapses of me cranking it out before we go get to the cable portion. Then we'll probably see you in the daylight because this is gonna take me the rest of the night. Now that all the railings have been installed, we're gonna start installing the cables that run between these, and I'll walk you through the process. It's actually really simple. There's just a lot of hardware and a lot of steps, and once you get a rhythm going, it goes really quick. So for the cable railings, we're using the stainless steel cable, which looks really good. It accents the black and the cedar super well, giving that like industrial look. But the way that you install them is, so I already cut this to length. You can see if you look all the way down here, I cut this just a little bit longer than what it needs to be to fit this whole run. The way you start is you take the fresh cut side of the cable and the tensioner. So the tensioner actually loosens up like this. And then the steel cable fits right into the tensioner like that. And then you take the crimper tool, which Muzata actually sells on their website as well, and you just crank down on it. I don't know if you can see if you get nice and close, but it crimps it. And you just want to go till it's snug, and then you loosen it, and you can see, I don't know if you can see against the So you can see here, this is where it's been crimped, and this guy is not going anywhere. So what we do now is take the threaded portion, push it through, take the back end of the tensioner, put it on the back side, which this is where you'll find out if you installed your railings correctly, if all the holes are on the right sides. So we secure it in. I put like 2 turns on it just so it's not falling out when we're feeding it post to post. So once the first piece is secured in, you then take these black washers, and there's little adhesive backing that you have to stick on, and you slide one on like that, one on like that, so that the adhesive is out on each side, because the adhesive ultimately is going to attach on the inside of these posts. Then you push it through the post, just like that, and you can pull it through, which I'm just pulling this through to give you guys reference. So then you'll just pull off the little paper backing, slide it up against the post, and slide it up against the post over there. And you just keep rolling all the way down the line. So we'll go plow through this line real quick, and then I'll show you exactly how we're gonna attach the other side. Okay, so we're on the other side here, and you can see that all the washers are on the cable. You want to make sure you hit every single one, because otherwise you're going to be taking this cable out and re-putting them back on, and it's a total pain. I've done it a couple times. You don't want to do it. So I cut the cable a little bit long here, and what we're going to do is cut it to length. So on this end of the railing, we actually use this little T bracket that we splice on. So you can see here if you get nice and close. So the stainless cable actually sits right inside this guy, and the way it works is it pretty much bends like that and sits like this inside of the railing. What you do is you pull the steel cable pretty much tight, and then you line it up. So the way I do it is I like to have half of this little T bracket sticking past this way and the other half sitting by the pole, just as a reference point. And then I pull it nice and tight, and then I just hold it there. I grab the little snipper tools that they provide, snip the cable just like that, double check one more time, because you're gonna have to redo the entire cable if you get it wrong here. You can see we're about half this way, lined up with the hole. And then we hold it flush like that, so you can see the cable is right there at the end. And then we use the crimper tool again. I gotta go up to one more stair. We use the crimper tool. Same deal, we just go till it's snug, loosen the crimper, and you can see that's what the crimper did right there. So same deal, this thing isn't going off. And then I like to put a little bend in the cable like that, so you can see it's bent. And you can see, look, it doesn't fit, right? I can't, as much as I stretch it, I can't get it in. So what I do is I actually loosen the tensioner completely on the other side, so the other side dangles down. Go to the other side and I loosen the tensioner completely to the point where it's just dangling on the ground. So now the other end is completely detached. You have all the slack to just be able to push it in the hole. And you can see it's clicked in just like that, and it's not coming out. So now you just gotta be careful and make sure it doesn't fall out. And then we run back to the other side, make sure that none of these washers have fallen off. You put the little tensioner bracket on the back side. This one, you secure it in the hole, you push it snug, put a couple turns on it. I like to grab a set of pliers just to be able to hold this bracket so that the cable doesn't spin on me. And you take the Allen keys that they provided, put it in the back side there, and you just crank away. You don't want to make it super, super tight, but you definitely want it pretty snug. You can see I probably did like 10 cranks on it. Cable's nice and snug, and we're ready to go do this a bunch more. So that's pretty much how you do the cables. Now I'm gonna go plow through the rest of this deck, set all the cables along this front run. You can see I've already done this run here, so that's sort of an idea of giving you what the final product looks like. And then this next bit, which I'm super excited for, is this huge stretch of railing. And then you can see this entire long 50-foot stretch of railing is next. So I was just making sure we really knew the process before we dove into like the feature piece. So here's a bunch of cool time lapses of us plowing through the rest of the cables. So So then Em and I started on the front deck area, which the straight part and the corners are exactly like the back deck, but the only difference is right at the joint where the angle pivots down, there's this cool little angle directional bracket, and then the stair posts that have little standoffs on them that connect to the stair railing. Then you connect all the cables and you're good to go. I'm gonna mention too, so another big selling point on these Muzata cable railings was that they give you a full integrated system, which when I was looking at some other cable railings, I noticed that on like the junctions where it goes from a straight portion like this down to a sloped railing, they would pretty much have a break in the post, like where they stop from the straight, just like normal bits, and then another part that starts up, so there'd be a break in the action. But here there's a nice transition piece, so your hand can just continue all the way down without like having a break where you could like catch a finger in it or something. So, but overall, big fan of how this turned out. So now for a little tour coming from the sauna area over here over to the main 1,000 square foot deck. So come right down here, we got the nice little railing that's going up to protect you from falling down there. But yeah, these things just look so clean, nice clean corners. And then how's that for a 50-foot stretch? So this 50-foot stretch looks so good. You really got to see it in real life to just really appreciate it. But this is what I was talking about with being able to see through, like even from the camera view, you can hardly see these cables, especially with all the greenery going on in the background. So that was one huge selling point, which at nighttime you can tell even more, or can't tell even more because you can't really see them, because all you see is the little string lights hanging over above, and you can just see all the forest and the trees. So it looks really good. Here's the full tour. So starting at the cold plunge over here, we got this guy that wraps around 10 feet. We head all the way out to the forest. Look at that view with all the string lights up there, so cool. And you got this little stretch that goes out to the sauna, the 50-foot stretch that lines the main feature part of the deck, and then over by the huge 7-person hot tub, which is overkill, but why not? And this just wraps all the way around. So now the question that everyone asks is, how much did this whole thing cost? And it cost me $10,000 for this entire 130-foot normal straight runs, plus 20 feet total of stairs going down. There's just a little bit more hardware, so the stair portions are a little bit more expensive, which sounds like a big number at first, but when you break it down, it works out to be about $65 per lineal foot, which is not bad at all considering the level of quality. I can honestly say, whether sponsored video or not moving forward, I'm 100% using these Muzata cable railings on any future build. So end of the day, I want to thank Muzata for sponsoring this video. If you go to the top link at the top of the description and enter code Devin8 at checkout, you'll get 8% off your cable railing. So it knocks that roughly $65 per lineal foot of railing down to like $60 or just under 60. So you'll save a couple bucks there. So I want to thank you guys for following along. Let me know if you have any questions down below. And in the next video, I'm going to be giving you a little tour of the inside. This is really cool. I've learned a lot of lessons from the bin, so I'm excited to show you guys. But we'll see you in the next video. Thanks, Muzata, and we'll see you guys soon. Peace.
It's time to install the cable railing. We marked where each post would go, then pre-drilled holes directly into the deck frame. After seeing the Muzata cable railing system, I fell in love with the sleek design they offer, so I reached out and they custom designed my cable railing system so I had the perfect amount of product. I ran the cables through the holes, then crimped the adjustable bolts, and basically repeated the same process over and over again until all the cables were in the railings. I didn't tighten the cables until the handrails were installed because the posts are level and squared, so tightening the cables would basically pull them inward, making them crooked. After all the cables were put in, it was time to install the handrail. I used my miter saw to cut the corner at a 45-degree angle, then carefully connected the railing together. What's cool about this handrail is that it has a channel grouped into it so that LEDs can be slid in, and a sleek protective cover. We installed the handrail, then went ahead and tightened up all the cables. And just like that, we have a deck with a cable railing system. I'll show you the way the LEDs light up later on in the video.
Alright, so quick recap from last video. We got our big and beefy staircase in, along with all of our joists and blocking. But as you can tell, I'm sitting on a joist and it's very uncomfortable, which means we're working on our flooring next, so we're going to be installing some 3/4 inch cabinet grade plywood. Now let's get started. I'm installing the flooring in a brick lay pattern, mounting each sheet with 3 2.5 inch number 10 structural screws into each joist. All right, we've got the flooring in on the loft and it's looking really good. I've got my furnace up here now, which is going to get installed in that far corner over there over the next couple weeks here. And luckily it's been a pretty mild Minnesota winter, but I'm really looking forward to having some permanent heat in here. But as you can tell, we still need railings, which brings us to today's video sponsor, Muzata, who sent us out some really beautiful black steel cable railings. Now, I have a ton of boxes to go open up. It's like Christmas morning, so let's go do that. All right, I've finally got everything unpackaged and laid out. I got almost everything up on the table because I just kind of want to walk through all this. But first off, boy does Muzata know how to package their products. It took me a while just to get all this unpacked, and you know what? I am okay with spending time unpacking something because I'd much rather be spending my time doing that than being on call with product support. Now, let's kind of walk through what we got here. So first off, we have all of the posts for the entire railing system. We have our top railings. We've got our black steel cable, a bunch of hardware that are going to be going with our posts. They even give you the lag screws to mount these into the floor. I just want to take time to look at these posts because these guys have some heft to them. They are a thick gauge steel. I am really impressed with just the robustness. Overall, I am super pleased with what I'm seeing. Everything is in really great shape. Now let's take this all up onto the loft. I'm going to lay it out and we're going to talk about this system. Now, for those of you who don't know about railing systems and designing it, it can be pretty complex and difficult. There's a lot of math going on and it's very easy to make mistakes. However, what's really great about Muzata is they make it super easy. All I had to do was give them my dimensions. So I gave them my 13 feet across the front, 7 feet on the sides, same thing for over there, and then the rise and run for my steps. After that, they do all the engineering work. It takes about a day or two for them to give me a bill of materials. You order it and I get everything shipped out. Got here about a week and a half. Now it's time to get these things installed. So let's keep going. I'm starting off the install with marking the post locations while using my laser level for perfect alignment. You could use a chalk line, but the laser level is way faster and it ensures I have a perfect right angle. I'm marking the location for the corner post and the last post of each section first. Then I can find the dimension for the equal spacing between the intermediary posts and mark their locations as well. With my post locations found, I can now use the post to trace hole locations and start pre-drilling for the lag screws. I positioned my posts so that most of the lag screws would be going into either a joist or a header. However, occasionally I would have an open hole where I had to add some 2x6 blocking in order to give the screw something to bite into. After installing the blocking, I went back and re-drilled those previously open holes. With the holes drilled, I installed the stainless steel lag screws and washers provided by Muzata, making sure to finish torquing by hand in order to not strip out the holes. You want to make sure that all your posts are plumb, or else it's really going to come back and haunt you when you're installing the cables. With all the posts installed on the platform, it's time to move on to the stairs. I made 2 spacers to position each post accurately on each step. It's good practice to lay out your posts first and check and make sure that the edge of the steps does not interfere with the bottom cable. I used a metal rod to simulate the cable, but string would work just as well. I had to get some 2-inch long lag screws for the stairs since the steps weren't thick enough for the provided screws. So Muzata does provide these base plates for the posts that just go on and they cover up all those bolts down there. However, my whole dream for this loft is industrial, big and beefy, exposed bolts. So I'm not going to be using these plates, and I have instead painted all of my bolts black because it just gives that industrial look, but it does give it a very good finished look. All right, we've got all the posts in. They're looking really good. I'm starting to get a good feel for what the railings are going to be like up here when they're finished, and I'm getting really excited. Now we've got all the posts in on top here, and we've got all of our stair posts in. So now it's time to get working on our railings. But before we can attach our railings, we need to attach these little standoffs to every single post on here. So these angle, so for the steps they can be angled and then they can be flat while they're up here. The only thing that doesn't get these are the corner posts. They get a 90-degree bracket instead. Now, as for our railings, these come in 6.5-foot sections. So you do have to trim these every once in a while. Now, the front section that I have going on right here is 13 feet, so I'm gonna have to trim very little. But a big thing to note is that your seams for where these railings meet, they need to be right on top of a post. That way they're supported by the post. You can't have them just hanging out over here. They need to be on top of the post. So let's keep going. Now, real quick, I just wanted to say thanks again to Muzata for sending out this cable railing system. It is looking so good. These parts are very high quality, and I'm really looking forward to having this thing in the shop. But on top of that, they also gave me a discount code for you guys, which is ZAC6. That will save you 6% at checkout with no minimum requirements. Plus, they currently have a spring promotion going on right now. So if you are in the market for a cable railing system, now's the time to take a look. So if you are interested, I'll have a link down below in the description to check it out. Thanks again, Muzata. Now, let's get back to the build.
With the standoffs installed, it's time to start working on the railings. I started off with the corners and cutting a miter joint to conjoin the two sections. Now, it's a good idea to test your saw angle by cutting 2x4s first and checking for a perfect 90-degree angle before cutting into the railing. You will need a metal chop saw for these because these railings are made of very high quality stainless steel. Muzata provides blocks of high density polymer that really help in the alignment of these railing joints. Once I had the corner joint ready for install, I taped both the joint and the two railing sections in place, then I went underneath to mark the hole locations at the corner and posts. I'm tracing these holes using a welder's pencil. I also marked on the railing where it needed to be cut for the joint to fall on the halfway point of the standoff. With all the holes traced, I brought both the railings down to my drill press to drill out some clearance holes, which allows the screws to go in unobstructed.
So, before I got these railings installed, I was doing a little testing just to kind of refine my process. And how this is originally designed is Muzata sends out these coarse thread screws and these machine screws that they're just supposed to go through those standoffs on the posts and into the holes that you've drilled into these railings and lock everything in place. However, I was having a little trouble because these stainless steel railings are really good quality and they're very hard, but I was having a lot of trouble with tapping these, and all I was really doing was mangling the threads on my screws. So I'm going to be borrowing Muzata's design for the seaming of the two different rail sections. So they provide these little black blocks and they bridge the gap between one seam to another because the screws go into these blocks. Now, I've cut my own blocks out of some 2x4 and these are just going to slide in to my railings, and then I'm cutting clearance holes on my railing, and then I'm just going to use these coarse thread screws that are going to go through my standoffs on the posts and then up into these blocks and lock everything in place.
With the railing holes drilled out, I taped the two railing sections back in place, then pre-drilled the corner block before driving in the coarse thread screws. I used my long metal rod from before to push my wood block into position above the post before I pre-drill for the screws. After attaching the first section of railing, I realized that it was a really awkward angle to try and drive the screws in while the railings were in place. So from here on, I found it was much easier just to remove the top of the standoff, then attach it to the railing while it was on my assembly table, and then reattach the standoffs back to the posts. I used pretty much the same method for the stair railings, except I attached 2 sections of railing together with a stand-up before putting them in place to trace the hole locations. And then reattach the stand-offs back to the posts.
All right, we've got the posts and the railings in. The loft is looking super good. Now it took us a little bit just to figure out the process of installation, but now these things are on. They are rock solid, and this thing is looking pretty doggone great. Now, we only have one more step, and that is installing our cables. So I have 72 lengths of cables to cut and install, so let's keep going. All right, so every cable system is different, so I went ahead and installed this whole section of cables, and now that I've got the process figured out, let's go run through it over here. So there are a couple different parts for these cable systems. First is obviously the cable, but then we have our end terminals that crimp on and go into these holes and hold that cable in place. Then we have our crimp-on tensioners that allow you to crank on them and tension the cable. And then there's adhesive washers that cover these holes and give it a little bit more of a high-end look. Now, the first thing we got to do is we got to figure out what length we need to cut our cable to. So, to measure for the length of our cable, what we need to do is identify where our terminal and our tensioners are going to sit. So in this case, our terminals are going to sit right here, and then our tensioners are going to sit on the outside of this post. So what we're going to do is measure from that surface to this surface. I recommend bringing up a friend because you want to make sure this measurement is accurate as possible. So in this case, it's 75 1/16 of an inch. You can let go. Thank you. So with 75 1/16 inches, that is still a little too long because our tensioners do have some length to them. So what we need to do is we need to take that 75 1/16 inch, subtract 5/16 of an inch, which gives us 74 3/4 inches, and that's how long we need to cut our cable.
Now that we know our length, we can cut our first cable, which is a lot easier with an extra set of hands. After this, I crimped on the terminal, making sure to run the cable through the U-shaped side first, and flush the end of the cable with the opposite end of the terminal. I'm using an 1/8 inch die on my hydraulic crimper and giving it everything I had because you really don't want these things to come loose. These terminals create a T-shaped anchor when installed. After completing the first cable section, I highly recommend doing a test fit just to make sure everything fits before making the rest of your cables. From here, installing the cables is pretty straightforward, but there are 2 major things to note. First, 2 adhesive washers need to be threaded onto the cable between each post, and second, the washers do not fit over the tensioner, so they need to be threaded on before crimping on the tensioner. Once all the cables are installed, you can tension them using the provided tools, starting from the center cables and working your way out. With everything tensioned, it's time to peel the backing off of each of those washers and put them in place. Pro tip, don't cut the zip ties off of the cable rolls or else this will be you. From here, rinse and repeat until you get to the stairs. The only thing different about the stairs is there are tensioners on both ends of the cable along with 30-degree washers that fit around each tensioner. To cut the correct cable length, you'll need to measure the distance from the two surfaces that the tensioners sit on, then subtract 2 inches. As always, test fit before you commit. And with that, this loft is done.
Oh!
I think that should stay. That actually is funny.
All right, the shop loft is done. And now before I say anything about it, I want to say again, huge thanks to Muzata for sending out these railings. This loft looks amazing with its big and beefy timbers, along with the black railings. It couldn't have turned out any better. It's amazing. This is the biggest build I've done on the channel so far, and it turned out so well. Now, as you can tell, we've got a lot of open space now. So I've got a couple ideas for what I want to do. I'm thinking like an office space up here, but beyond that, I want this shop to be able to build anything. I want to do anything I can in here. So one of the big things I'm considering is 3D printing. So I want to put a 3D printing space up over here by the furnace. I'm thinking of Bamboo Labs for a 3D printer, but if you guys have any recommendations, feel free to throw it down in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys think, if any of you are into 3D printing. There is one thing coming that is going to be super cool, and it's going to be going right there. But I'm not going to tell you about that yet, so you're going to have to subscribe so you can stay up to date on all my future projects. If you enjoyed this video at all, I hope you press the like button. It helps me out a ton, and I really do appreciate it. And leave a comment. Let me know what you think of the whole build, if you have any recommendations for stuff you want to see in the shop, because there's a lot more coming. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
With that OSB and 2x4s that's kind of holding my kids back from falling over. Yeah, I've been planning on building my own railing system out of steel, and the problem that I deal with is trying to find the time. I don't really have the time. But Muzata reached out to us and they offered to let us try their railing system, and honestly it's exactly what my wife was looking for. So they sent us a kit and they were awesome to work with. They have a crew that is free. If you need to find out what to buy and how to make it happen on your project, they will walk you through and tell you what you need to do. And it is actually a pretty sweet kit. So I'm excited to see how it all goes together. What do you guys think? Should we tear down the old railing and put up the new railing? My wife thinks so. And I think so too, because it's a little less work for me instead of trying to redesign and build a whole new railing. Let's go take care of it. See what Muzata has to offer. So what I'm doing is I'm going to remove some of this railing just to get to this corner so I can kind of figure out what I need to do to mount the new railing on. And then the other thing too I got to figure out is my angle. So I got to build something to keep it nice and level for the pole. And I haven't really decided how I want to do that yet. I've got a couple ideas, but I haven't really focused on one in particular. But yeah, I just got to figure out what I want to do where the two railings come up on this corner. If I connect them together, it's going to take a little bit of figuring, or you leave them separate, which I really don't want to do, but I might have to. We'll see. But I wanted to look at this, kind of get an idea, because it's a little of a weird transition. But what needed to happen is we needed to move these stairs that way a little bit and had more of a landing right here so that the railing comes down, it can turn and then go back down. What we have right here is a step, as you can tell, and that's going to be a little interesting to figure out, but wanted to get to this point at least. I'm going to leave the rest of this so my kids don't fall off the edge, and if they like to get a little tumble, they don't have too far to fall, right? No, they're pretty good. Okay, let me do some figuring. Now that I removed this bottom railing, what I'm going to do, and I thought about this, is I'm actually going to take a screw, and this is just to find out exactly what my angle is. I'm going to build blocks, and each spot where there's going to be a pole will have a little, basically a step for it to sit on. That'll be perfectly level. So my poles have a flat base, they'll screw right to that, and then I'll finish it out and hopefully make it look pretty good. But to find that angle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a screw, I'm going to screw it down on the board, and then I'm going to take a little level, I'm going to put the level on there and get it so it's perfectly level so I can just rest it on there, and then use an angle finder to find out what kind of angle that I need to start cutting blocks out to mount onto this board. Now granted, I'm taking this one off, the one down below is the one I'm going to mount to, but I think that's going to work out pretty well. All right, now I have my angle that I need, and I'm going to remove this 2x8 here, and then get down to that, and then I'll start building some blocks for each pole. And then once I get that blocks built, I'm going to start capping it with some nice pine that my wife stained, and then we'll get that all taken care of, put the poles on it, and my focus is to do the bottom stairs first, get it all figured out. Once that's figured out, then I'll start tackling the top. See how that goes. Here's what I'm talking about. See these blocks right here? They're cut to the right angle. This is actually level. I went ahead and put a level on it, make sure it's good. So what I'll do is I'll screw this bottom one in, I'll put some glue, screw the top one in, and then when I'm ready, I'll bolt this thing on top, but I won't bolt it on top until I put some nice pine over the top, down here, and go all the way down to the next block, but I gotta make a couple of these blocks. So I think that's gonna work out pretty well. They did a really nice job of making these poles. Everything is super legit, like super square. I love it. It's my job to make a good foundation for them to sit on, and hopefully I make it level enough. But they have angled holes on here, so there's a hole here and then there's a hole down below, so when you put the cable through, it keeps the angle of your stairs. So we'll go ahead and match these blocks, make a couple more of them down there, and then do the gluing and screwing and get it all done. And then I'll start plating it with some pine and go from there. But I think it'll work out. I think it's gonna work out really well. Okay, let's go cut some more. I have all the pine cut to length and all the angles figured out. So now I just got to shoot it with a nail gun and secure them on there. And then once I get that all done, then I can drill holes and put the posts on, bolt those on, and then I can do the top railing, figure out the length there and get that on, and then it's do all the cable. And then the sides, I plan on running a little strip down to finish it out. I think I'll do that. Maybe I'll just do a little triangle piece to clean that up a little bit. But anyways, that's what I got going on. So I think it should work. Let's nail it. So they have the black railing right here, which is stainless steel. Everything in this kit is stainless steel, by the way. And it's not long enough, but what they have is they've got these little, they feel like a nylon block. That's what it feels like. So what you do, from my understanding, is you slide it inside here, and then you'll put a screw underneath, I believe, so you don't see it, and then you can extend your railing. So I need 112 inches of railing for that bottom staircase. So this here is, I think it's, I thought it was like a 6-footer. Let me just measure again. 6.5 feet long. And all the ones that I have are the same length. So I will take another railing right here and I'll cut it down to length, and then I can figure out where to mount it on the railing downstairs for the poles, and we should be good to go. So yeah, there's that. Oh, it's looking good. Look at that railing. Yesterday, I was messing with this until about 9 o'clock at night, but we finally got our angles figured out, which was a little tricky, and working with stainless steel is a little bit tougher because it gulls up easy and it's a lot harder to cut. But I just wanted to see how this worked out. I went ahead and cut the right length of these cables, as you can tell, and put those in. And now that I have an idea how it all works, I'm gonna start cutting these, and we're going to install this so that the kids don't fall over the edge and hurt themselves. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. Should I fall over the edge?
No.
Okay, that's a good idea.
You can't even fit through there.
Yeah, I can't. Are you saying? Wow, that was like a total fat joke right there towards Dad. I can't even fit through that. Anyways, this is actually not too bad of a kit. They come up with a lot of different little pieces here, and so each thing has its own way of doing things and stuff, and there's lots of videos online to show. But so far, it's working out pretty good. It just takes a lot of time. This is not like a couple-hour project. This is going to be like hours of cutting and tightening and cutting and tightening and cutting and tightening and yeah, it takes a while. But the finished result, I think, is going to be well worth it. So, anyways, let's get this covered up so kids don't fall through the stairs and get that done. Yeah. I got a little helper here too, by the way.
Alright guys, it's Leg Arm's wife. You guys don't usually get to see me in videos because I do not farm and I don't fix things and I'm not planning to start. But since I have all the details about this railing and I'm the one who ordered it, I get to tell you about it. So Scott was gonna try to build this himself, but because I wanted a cable railing and he didn't really have time to start from scratch as far as figuring out how many pieces he needed and how much material he needed, this cable railing kit from Muzata was a great option for our needs. So Muzata has a range of pre-designed railing systems that vary in materials as well as experience level for installation. We installed the metal advanced top mount system with a black stainless steel flat handrail and stainless steel cables. That system was a little bit more complicated to install, but it allowed Scott to do what he does best and cut and customize it for strength and stability. So ordering everything we needed to finish this project was super easy, and that's where I came in. So all I had to do was give them the length of our stairs, the angle of our stairs, some photos of our space, and a little 2D drawing showing the measurements of each section. I didn't think that it would work, but it totally did. We got everything we needed and Scott was able to finish this in just a couple days. There was definitely some skilled work involved in installing this railing, especially because of how our stairs are laid out, but it was still easier than Scott trying to figure out everything on his own. We're
All right, folks, welcome back to the ranch. So today we're going to get to talk about another perk of being a content creator. We always get all kinds of neat stuff sent to us. We get collaborations. Strangely enough, we were just talking about here a few weeks back about the handrail that we wanted to put on this house. Well, lo and behold, a few days later, we actually had Muzata reach out to us. They're the manufacturer of some really high quality 316 stainless cable railing parts. We have some trim pieces, there's a sleeve. We got tensioners here. We have a hydraulic crimp, and we have our black coated stainless steel. It's a 7/7 wire, so you actually have 49 strands in it. Very high tensile. It's going to be beautiful. The black cable is going to look really nice with the house. We got black windows. So anyway, we're going to show you how we're going to do this today. It's a very simple system, and it's very affordable, especially for you DIY people. This particular setup is for wood post installation. So you can have extruded aluminum handrail, you can do wood, there's a lot of different products you can do cap PVC, and they have all the different products to go along with that system you're going to be putting in. So we're going to be installing this today, and I can't wait. It's going to look beautiful. Check it out. Here's your tensioner. This is going to go into the post. Your cable is going to feed in through this end, come out this side. You're going to put a crimp on your cable. You're going to engage that into your post, and you're going to use this tool right here, slips around the cable, and you're going to twist it in to your post, and that is what's going to tension the cable. This will go on both ends. It's a very clean look. Use your terminals.